Hey, everybody. How are you on this fine day? We are here to talk about how happy are you in your work life, and are you feeling a profound sense of freedom in your work life? My guess is probably not for the most of the people watching. And because I am Julie Murphy and I am the money chick, but Karen here works with to help you work through your blind spots, and particularly in your career and your work life. And so we just want to help you guys and encourage all of you that if you ever want to come and help us help, we want to help you. So come on next week. So let us know. I want to say that at the beginning this time, because I've actually had in my Awaken Your Relationships, people are now chiming in going, yes, I need your guys' help. So by all means, if you want to go live with us, please send an email to julie@juliemurphy.com, and we will connect you so that you can join us next Wednesday when we do this live. So Karen, what do you think? You're seeing freedom, lack of freedom?
I know, it's so funny when these things come to me. Like, it's usually first thing in the morning, they kind of drop in, and the word freedom came to mind. And I think, it's just been a week. It's been a week. It's been more than a week, really, but like last week really crystallized for me the idea and the power of freedom, but also what that means. So here in the US, in the context of democracy, that issue came up, but also the idea of how many of us struggle. And as I was thinking about, like, yeah, we're probably going to have we've got at least 6 more months of what we have right now, which is it's going to take a minute for the vaccine to get out and for things to roll. And many people are struggling. Here's a fact, and this is another reason why this came up for me. Job loss in the US in December, 140,000 jobs lost net in December, all women.
All women?
The net was all, of course, in the grander number, there was some gains, some losses, but the net loss is all women, 140,000. And while we started,
that's shocking.
When we started the year, February was the first time there's all this commotion about, for the first time, employment statistics for women were at parity with men, 50.2 to like 49.8 or something. We're like, whoa, first time in decades. At the close of the year, net loss was over 800,000 jobs to women. So people are struggling. They're trying to understand. They're trying to, like, how are these people going to make it? And so in the context of work, it has never been more important to get clear.
Right.
It has never been more important to really rethink and not to believe that where you are and what you have is going to stay. I don't mean to incite fear. I'm just saying that we know energetically something different happens when you can stand your truth. You're not slugging your way through what's happening. And I do believe, I'm a strong believer in the gig economy. But this is back to the freedom conversation. What does freedom look like? And I think right now people are struggling. They would get very angry about even this conversation. How can I be free in my work? I just need a job. I've got to get stuff. I've got to get food on the table and keep my apartment. I mean, these are very real struggles. So what I'm asking people to do is to think about it at probably one of the most difficult times to even consider something like this. And yet this is exactly when we should be considering it.
Well, and this goes back to that our navigator is like, if you feel a heaviness around the work that you do, that's just an indicator that you're not being authentic in that facet of your life. And it's really super important that you just recognize that heaviness, because that just represents a lack of freedom. And how do we get to a place where this freedom can then start to open up in you. And sometimes that just starts with, okay, I need to look at this. Then freedom starts to open up, and then you kind of go, okay, there might be options. And even though if you don't know exactly the path, it's just being willing to open up while all this is going on at large. Because here's what I know. If we don't go inside and really tune into what's authentic for us as individuals, and stay out of the projection and the push and the you're right, you're wrong, like, no, go inside, because that projection has nothing to do with your authenticity. Well, find out what's true for you, and then how do you become the creator of that in your life?
Yeah.
Not easy. Not easy at all. You know, I think about in my own scenario, I have an ex-husband who is starting to, you know, he was an at-home dad, so hasn't worked in 12 years. And he is taking the first steps this month, and he's doing student teaching because he's going to be a teacher for the first time in his life. So that came with all other kinds of packages, right? How is he emotionally processing that? Like, it's the next level of me not being the provider and supporter of him, because he's having to step into his own power. And I know there's a lot of actually women that feel that way out there, you know, as you're stepping back into the workforce or changing jobs, or, you know. So as we go through some of these transitions, still, how do you get back to that center piece, to feel that freedom, to feel that it's okay for me to walk across this bridge? You know, it's okay, you know, which is why we want to help those, you guys that are watching. Like, we are here to help because you're one of another 100 people that have almost the same scenario as you do, that we can help so many more people. If one of you guys desire next week to have the courage, say, hey, let's work through this live.
Yeah.
Because we deserve this freedom.
Yeah. And it seems very counterintuitive. Like our nature is to contract when something, like with a job loss or some kind of challenge, that our nature is to contract in and then like scramble to find something else. And that's really important. I get it. Like, replacing a lost job is incredibly important. But in the time when you're not actively sending resumes or writing applications, find 30 minutes or an hour to really try and calm. I know it's so hard. I get it. But to ask yourself, what do I really want? Like, if I could find a job right away that met me where I am, what elements would be included? Don't worry about whether it seems unlikely or impossible, or why am I playing this stupid game with myself? It's not realistic. Like people come at me all the time with, that's not realistic. I'm like, well, who defines reality?
Right? I think that's one of the things that's like, think about just what's going on in the media today. Like, they're defining people's reality of how they perceive things,
Oh my God.
or how things are being pushed. Like, we're really at a place where we have to question, like, how did we get to the thought process that we're in? And is that authentic for you, or is it not authentic for you?
Yeah. And even if you feel like you're in the worst possible scenario, it's still fair to have a wish list. You know, like if you said, well, my next job, I would really love to have some flexibility. I don't know how likely that is, but at least I'm going to put that on my list.
Right.
I want it to be a culture or an environment where they understand people having family and family values matter.
Right.
Like, who knows? Because here's the thing. There's no downside to creating your wish list.
Right. Exactly.
None.
Right.
No, you might not get them all. You might get two, you might get none. But if you don't make the list, if you don't create the definition for yourself, you won't have any sense of what you're trying to bring into your life.
Right.
You definitely won't get it. I mean, it's like that old adage. Oh no, never mind. I'm not going to use that one, but you know, it's classic. You got to get in it to win it.
Yeah.
With anything, like, you can't
So true.
You have to be willing to, and there's no downside. So it's okay. And in fact, that's even better. Write it down, push it off to the side, like, we'll see. Because now you're not attached to it. And when that thing shows up on your plate, I want you to write us. I want you to DM us or to write us or to comment and let us know, because these are the things I think people need to know. There are a lot of people really struggling, and even for the people who aren't struggling, but they're not loving the work that they do, make your list.
Right. We do have to make our list. And, I even had somebody the other day, they're like, well, I made my vision board, but I can't find it anywhere. I go, maybe you're not supposed to. I was like, maybe you're supposed to make a new one.
Yeah.
Because there's so many. She goes, I made it about a year ago and I can't find it. I go, do you think your perception of life has changed a little bit over the last year?
Oh my God. Yeah.
Right? Like, she was a different person when she made that vision board a year ago of what she wants to do and be in the world, and redefining herself in her 50s. And it's like,
Yeah.
well, maybe you're not. She goes, wow, I never even really considered that. Maybe I'm not. She goes, I've been looking all over the house for the damn thing. I said, well, if you find it, you might want to burn it.
Correct.
I'm like, start on the new one, because you are a different person today.
They do age out, and many of the things will be many of the same sentiments or ideas may stay, but there's definitely been an evolution.
For sure.
They definitely age out. And the other thing is, if she finds it, she might not be able to find it because she might have cracked the code on most of the things on the darn board.
Right? Exactly.
Because I have one that's up, and I finally took it down because I realized when I had made it, there were all these places I wanted to visit.
Right.
And I cut out, there were little tiny pictures of the places like all over the board. And I'm like, oh, does that say Barcelona? Oh, check. Does that say Tuscany? Check. Does that say Paris? Check. And when I looked up, I was like, oh my God, I've been to all those places.
So true.
It was done.
Right. It is magic. It is. And I remember the first vision board, when we've talked about this before on another show, how you had me sit and do my first vision board, which was the funniest experience. Go to episode 1. I think we talked about it. And it was the funniest experience because I could not get out of my left brain logical. But I put on that vision board that I wanted to be on Oprah. And it was really funny. After my first book came out, The Emotion Behind Money, I found myself on Harpo Radio, and I was on Oprah Radio, and it was freaking fantastic. And then I was considered as a financial show on the Oprah Winfrey Network when she shifted away from the talk show. So it's like, wow, that stuff does work. And it's like, it's fabulous.
It does. And you have to just suspend your disbelief and be willing to stand in the I wonder zone.
Yeah.
I
wonder what's next.
Yeah. And honestly, here's the thing, when you're at what you believe to be your rock bottom.
Yep.
There's no reason not to give it a shot. Like I said, there's nothing, you have nothing to lose.
Right.
So to come and get some support and hopefully inspiration and some action items, because you and I both have action items for people. It's not just
high in the sky.
And it's not hyperbole, and it's not like, oh, that's great, that was a great lecture. No, we both do really experiential things to help people get it into their system, get it into their bones, to feel it. And I think that's really important. I also want to ask, and maybe you'll comment on this. A lot of people tie their money, their sense of getting to where they think they want to go, purely based to the money they need to generate. And I know you have example after example of how do people, and that's also what you help people do, is figure out how to do more with less, which is possible, right? Or how to transform their thinking or how they're living to change categories or shift the way that people actually even save or invest or act in order to get them to where they're going. Because I think we get overly attached to thinking there's one way for us to do that. And we got to work really hard. We got to work 80 hours a week, and then people burn out, and they might get to where they thought they wanted to go, but oh my God, they aged themselves 20 years trying to get there.
Well, and I just had this conversation with someone who's turning 40 this week, this exact situation, and worked at a company for a long time. It's not that they dislike what they're doing, but there's no growth because the people who are in the 2 levels above him at this company,
not going anywhere.
They're only like 5 and 10 years older. And so he's looking like he would just stay stuck, and there's no more raises that are significant, no more, but like he's reached the pinnacle. And he's like, well, but if I go over here, I'm taking a slight little pay cut. I go, oh, no. I go, you have to watch the self-talk, because here's what I know. When you follow your heart, and I asked him, I said, how do you feel? Like when you think about this job and the equity that they're offering in this new company, tell me energetically, how does it feel? And he goes, I get so excited. And he just started like diarrhea of the mouth. He was like, telling me all about it. I was like, do you see what just happened to your energy level? I said, here's what I have watched for 27 years of doing this. When you have that much excitement and energy, I always say, find your giggle, whatever makes you giggle, because that is expansive, that is abundant, and more money always follows it. They feel like they're going backwards, but you're actually going forward. It's just the physical manifestation of it may not be right here and now.
Yeah, it has to catch up.
Right. So I game plan with them how they just tick backwards a little bit. And I know I've helped people at this company before, and I know this company's very generous. They're very tight with their salaries and their bonuses. Like, it's like you're never switching them outside of their box. But their stock that they give it away like candy on Halloween. And I'm like, this is how you make it up. And he was like, he had no idea that could be part of a creative solution so that he could then be a part of it. And I go, I'm telling you, they don't care on how much stock they give away. It's all about, if you press them and ask them for it, you get it. And I said, I'll bet they'll make you whole on your unvested stock at your current company. And I said, and you know what, just because you want to follow the energy, don't try to match it at your current comp package. Just go $1,000 ahead, because right now they're telling you got to go behind. But if you had that equity in there, just so you know, you're directionally correct. And I've watched over and over again that people get it, and the money always comes. We just have to have the courage to step into what's authentic for us.
Yeah. And I love that story. And I also love to say, we always think we're so smart. We're so smart. I just have it all figured out.
Right?
And it's like, we're over here, and I call this letter A, and there's a black box. Yeah. And then here's where we want to go.
Yeah.
And in the black box are all the combinations and permutations of the way to get from here to over here.
Right.
We think we're so smart because I think I know how this has to happen. And the truth is, we have no idea how something can be brought to us.
Right.
We know like this much, and there are all these possible ways that something can happen. So you kind of want to remove yourself from the feeling like you completely understand how it has to happen.
Totally.
And that's what happened to your client.
Totally.
You know,
that's exactly what happened.
Couldn't see how what he had been wanting was being laid at his feet. It just looked differently.
Right. And so we have to stop thinking that it has to show up in exactly how we already thought about it, because, we haven't thought of everything. We haven't. There's no way possible to do that.
No.
But we are so, especially in times like this, we go to control mode. Okay, what can I control? Because it's a stress management response, right? And it's like, how do I, and watch how much you're holding things by the noose today, because you might be strangling it.
Yeah.
And it's about, no, I had somebody say to me the other day, they go, can you just shift it from like Armageddon to transformation? I was like, well, in Armageddon, there's transformation, like,
No
right?
kidding. There's a lot
Right,
of change.
right. And this is what's happening right now. And I know a lot of people are sitting here going, oh, 2021 is here. We're past the presidential election. Well, I got to tell you, the unpacking is not going to stop.
It
It's
is
going to
not.
come in different packages. But there's a lot of infrastructure and a lot of things that we as a global community have not addressed. And it starts with being authentic and not keeping up with the Joneses and doing jobs that make you miserable when you really want to spend time with your kids. And, all these stories that we have built up for ourselves. I mean, I know so many people that, it doesn't matter to them anymore. Like, just watch people, how they show up on their work Zooms today compared to a year ago. People are all decked out for their Zoom calls, blah, blah. And now people are showing up in sweatshirts. And people are having tolerance for that, which is, to me, even almost the more beautiful part. It's like there's no judging for people just being where they are in life because everyone's doing the best they can.
Yeah, everybody's doing the best they can. There's an example. See, that's what was, this may sound blasphemous, but that's what's beautiful about COVID. I know that sounds crazy, but no one escaped it.
No one.
It is the most egalitarian thing that could possibly have happened, because historically, it doesn't, I mean, viruses are a little bit different because you could have been wealthy and gotten hit, but wealthy people head for the hills. They leave the environments where things are like
I mean, just look at our governor here in Illinois. He went to Florida.
But you know what? He's not trying to go back to Florida right now.
Not now. Sorry, I shouldn't joke like that.
But
You're right. I mean, that is, and I'm picking on him, but that is traditionally what has happened. If you have the wherewithal to leave the negative situation, you do.
And so the virus is indiscriminate. There's no discrimination here.
Zero.
Which is
why our learning is coming from this.
What?
That's why our learning is coming from this.
Yeah. So I say that to say this is an opportunity for people to have empathy, to develop empathy for other people, because they can't judge the same way. Sometimes if people would be considered pariah. Like, that one got it. She had it.
Right.
I'm not even sure it's safe now after the fact. Well, guess what? People in all kinds of places have had it. Right. So now how are you going to judge?
Right.
Or someone in their family has had it, or they've lost a family member to complications from it. And so the empathy gene is being like pumped up. And so what I agree with you, what we're seeing is an acceptance of just being softer, and a denial, lack of acceptance for the kinds of discriminations and bigotries that have been rampant for so long. Yeah, we're not done. We got a very active year or two ahead of us as these things get sorted out. But what I in my first book, I wrote that, like, world peace is not going to come from some unilateral decision-making thing. It will come when each one of us finds that place in ourselves to be at peace. And what does that look like? It is what we're talking about. What does your freedom look like? What does peace look like to you? What does satisfaction, look like to you? And when you start to look at that and define it for yourself, and then begin to take action to move towards those things, then the people around you stop irritating you so much.
Isn't that the truth? Because you're happy internally. I always say, build your wealth from the inside out, because the job's not going to make you happy. I look at people across the spectrum. And Karen, you actually, back in the day when I was working with you, helped me develop this, like that there's the poor, the debtors, the dreamers, the accumulators, the rich but empty. And since then I've added that then it's the embodiment of real wealth. So everyone along that linear line feels like once you have the wealth, then you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
But then the people who have the wealth, they get there and they're like going, this is not the way I thought it was going to feel.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because you didn't find your happiness and live all along the way.
Right.
We've negotiated ourselves away. And for those of you who are watching, like, I would challenge you to look at where you're negotiating yourself away. You know, I always say we work things out or we act it out. We do it through our money, through our health, through our relationships, and even with our employer relationships. You know, you probably don't have a boss that's very different than a sibling of yours, and it's like happening all over again, right? Because you're learning the lesson from another place.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's about that if you tune into you and be authentic, well, then everything starts to attract to you that's more in line with your heart, which then makes you happier. The problem is we do it because we're supposed to, because that's what the person in the cubicle next to me does. And it may not be defined for what it is that you want. And it also may be what it was for you 10, 15 years ago, and it's just not true for you today.
Correct.
That's the part that we don't adapt. That's the other gift, I think, from COVID. That it's been like, we're going to shove you at home. You're going to see how relieved you really feel from not having to go see the people you see every day at your employment. You know, like if you have this huge sense of relief and you're dreading going back, please love yourself enough to choose to look to find something else. Now, don't wait.
Yeah, it's so funny because I said there's so many people who say, "Oh, I can't stand my job.
Ugh,
I can't,
yeah.
you know what? I can't stand my boss, or the people I work with are just crap." And I was like, careful what you wish for. I really do believe there was a collective, like, this is a collective Big Bang. And this is still the opportunity. Guess what, y'all? You've got probably another year to work it out for yourself.
Yep.
You know, to take action that moves you closer to the things that you say you want. But the real answer is going to come not from out there or what somebody tells you should have, or you trying to adopt what somebody else has, but like really what's driving you. And if you dare, come on and we'll explore that with you. If you want a quick cut to your truth.
Right. And because in the end, that's all that matters, right? Your truth and living your life from that place. Like there's a lot of noise going on out there right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, I'll have people say, did you read this? Did you do this? I'm like, nope. Because I'm literally choosing not to. Because it can dominate your life. It puts you into fear and reactivity.
Yeah.
And I want to stay in my own personal empowerment. And
Yeah.
it's not that I don't want to be aware of what's going on. I'm, you know, okay, yeah, but I'm not engaging in it. I'm not reacting to it. And the more I do it, it's like building a muscle, you know, because I even noticed even at my own company, you know, employees are, you know, if they're having a rough time because of what's going on around them, like they're making more mistakes, you know, so I want to hold a space of more love and compassion and be like, how you doing? Where are you at? Like, how you processing through everything going on in the world? You know, and I've had, you know, 2 people on my staff get COVID and, you know, and I brought them everything, the tools that I know of, you know, because I do a series of Awaken Your Health. And I brought some of those people to them to help them through that process. And it's just like, this is about help out your neighbor again. But most importantly, also make sure you're helping yourself by being authentic and plugging into the world. And so that you can find that profound sense of freedom internally.
Yeah.
And that's really, for me, what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think sometimes, Julie, we ask the wrong questions, right? Like, how do you define freedom, or what would freedom look like to you? And then what would peace look like to you? No one ever asks those questions.
How about it?
Like really, like, and to say, what would it look like for you or to you?
Hmm.
Like I offer those to people to really take a minute and think about it. There's some stuff that will come up likely very early. Freedom looks like being able to go where I want to go or buy my house or do these. Okay. Now peel back that layer. What
Right.
else?
Mm-hmm. What else?
And how does it feel to you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And who is with you in that place?
Hmm. Yep.
Yeah, because very often we have no idea how incredibly powerful we are, and we throw our power away.
So true. You
Words,
just toss it.
thoughts, like, yeah, whatever. No, not whatever. Grab that energy you just threw out the window, claim it back, and point it in a different direction.
Right.
And you can be a naysayer. You can feel very powerful by saying, I don't believe you. That's not reality.
Right.
Okay, so you're not willing to try it?
Right.
Usually what's behind that is a fear of being let down. I
That's
try
so true.
and it doesn't work. See,
Yep.
I told you. And you know what? You
That
could
doesn't work.
tell me you told me so. But I have a feeling it's going to be a little different.
Right. Well, and I just think that it's time to just start asking those questions to yourself. That's really what it boils down to. Start challenging yourself.
And you listen, if none of this resonates, bless it on its way. But if even a little teeny part is starting to activate you in your heart or your belly, or you're like,
Yep.
I didn't think of it that way. That is your door. That the door is open. Step on in and see what you feel. Because the stuff Julie and I talk about is not going to be for everybody. We're not for everybody. But for those of you that have found yourself here, there's a reason.
Nothing happens without synchronicity and timing. You know, even if you're finding it live or if you're finding it taped down the road, and just know that, you know, Karen and I are here to help, and we are here on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Central. And we have both of our websites here in our pictures. So juliemurphy.com or Beyond Blind Spots for Karen. And we're here to help. We have, you know, different programs or different things, or join us next Wednesday. We want to help you get to a work life that makes you giggle, that you love, that it makes you feel this profound sense of freedom, that you're like, yeah, I'm doing this. Because we did it ourselves and we've helped others do the same. And
feel free to come with what you think are tough questions.
Yeah.
I
think it's so important, because I don't want to sit here and just like talk to a screen. I want to make change in the world and impact. So let us help you.
Yeah, you know, it's like, I don't know, it's $800 or $900 worth of free coaching. Come get it.
Yeah, how about it? And if you know people who want to shift their work life, you know, please like, share, so then it can spread to more people. Let's spread good in this world right now, as opposed to spreading things that are pulling us down to a lower vibration.
Yep.
Well, Karen, thanks again. I love having this chat about living your ideal work life. This is beautiful.
It is, and it's totally possible. And I'm, you know, come on, guys. Now is the time.
And again, you can send us a message. You can send it to Julie at juliemurphy.com, and we will have you linked in for next week, and we'll go live with you and help you out. Love you all. See you next week. Bye.